One of the biggest, most important decisions an expectant parent has to make is whether or not to breastfeed their baby. According to the article Supporting Breastfeeding Makes a Difference for Moms and Babies, posted on August 22, 2013, less than half of 6-month-olds receive any breast milk, and only 16% are breastfed exclusively. Only 27% of U.S. children still are receiving breast milk by the time they celebrate their first birthday. The statistic is understandable given the lack of support by family and the community. Breastfeeding is very time-consuming and takes a lot of dedication. Without support, it can be easy to give up. Breastfeeding not only offers the optimal nutrition, but it also makes the mother's transition back to her pre-pregnancy body go much smoother. I recently had my son Lyndon, and I chose to breastfeed. We have successfully been breastfeeding for 7 weeks. For support, I lean on my aunts who both successfully breastfed their babies until they were a year old. I have experienced negativity from both my family and friends. For additional support, I read a new article almost every day on breastfeeding. Expectant parents want the best of everything for their baby. Breastfeeding gives them the best nutritional start. Today I would like to discuss the disadvantages of choosing not to breastfeed, the advantages of breastfeeding and the disadvantages of breastfeeding, and support expectant parents who have made the decision to breastfeed. To begin, let's start with the disadvantages. And I want to go ahead and pass this around while I'm starting my disadvantages so you guys can see all the ingredients that go into formula. One of the top disadvantages of not breastfeeding is you have to feed your baby formula, and it has multiple synthetic ingredients in it. One being specifically is copric sulfate, which I actually read on, and is actually a fertilizer. It's used in fertilizer. So, yeah. Next, the negativity would be to the mother. According to the article, the risk of not breastfeeding for mothers and infants on NIH.gov, updated fall 2009, the disadvantages to the mother can be decreased incidence of premenopausal breast cancer, ovarian cancer, retained pregnancy weight, type 2 diabetes, and myocardial infarction, and metabolic syndrome. The way that not breastfeeding causes cancer in women is that you're not releasing estrogen, and so it's building up in your body. The buildup of estrogen in your body is what leads to breast or ovarian cancer. Your retained pregnancy gain, because you aren't using the 500 calories it would normally take to breastfeed your baby. The body actually stores fat so that at the end of pregnancy, they can use the fat stores to make breast milk for the baby. As far as type 2 myocardial infarction and metabolic syndrome, that all goes into the loss of that extra 500 calories that you would be losing if you were breastfeeding. The article also states the disadvantages to the baby, which is increased incidence of infectious morbidity, which would be like getting the flu or pneumonia or things like that, diabetes type 2 and type 1, and sudden infant death syndrome. Now that we know the disadvantages, let's move on to the advantages. The exciting part about the advantages is that it fixes all the disadvantages. According to the article, the risk of not breastfeeding for mothers and infants on NIH.gov, updated fall 2009, breastfeeding helps mothers decrease a risk of ovarian and breast cancer because it reduces the amount of menstrual cycles, because in turn it reduces the amount of estrogen in the body. Breastfeeding helps decrease retained weight gain, myocardial infarction, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome by burning 500 calories a day, and is associated with more favorable glucose, lipid, metabolism, and blood pressure. The article also states that breastfeeding decreases infectious mobility by the transfer of antibodies from mother to baby. The neat thing about a woman's body is that when you're producing your breast milk, the body creates antibodies to your specific environment. So the baby has antibodies to its actual environment, resulting in the baby being protected from bacteria and pathogens of its environment. Breastfeeding decreases the risk of diabetes because it supplies only what the baby needs, not anything extra. It also sets up better eating habits because you are exposing your baby to other tastes, and it's actually been seen that more breastfed babies tend to eat more vegetables later on in life because they're actually exposed to those flavors. Breastfeeding reduces SIDS by not exposing the babies to allergens that can be found in formula and reducing reflux. According to the book, The Complete and Authoritative Guide, Caring for Your Baby and Young Child, published October 2009, advantages of breastfeeding also includes savings of both time and money. Hopefully by now I might have all convinced you to support breastfeeding, so let's talk about some ways we can all do that. Like I stated before, breastfeeding is not easy and takes a lot of determination. Some of the disadvantages of breastfeeding are how much time it takes, food intolerances, pumping, and after the attachment is made, you constantly worry you might lose your supply. On the website babymed.com, in the article Breastfeeding Info Allergies, the most common allergy in babies is lactose, which can cause you to have to limit your dairy intake, which can be very hard, especially for Americans. We eat cheese on everything. Next, you have to pump, especially if you're planning on going back to work or school, and that takes a lot of time. Like for instance, this is my pump, and you have 8-ounce bottles and 5-ounce bottles, and I have to take this everywhere with me. If I go somewhere longer than 2 hours, I have to take my breast pump with me, so it can be kind of inconvenient. Next disadvantage would be just the worry that you're going to lose that supply and you're not going to be able to feed your baby. Now that we know the disadvantages of breastfeeding, I just want everybody to know that it can be tough, but with the right support you can do it, and it's the best option for your baby. Breastfeeding can be tough, but with great support system, making any decision can be easy. The support can come from a number of people, including the physician, the community, family, friends, and each other. According to the book, The Complete and Authoritative Guide, Caring for Your Baby and Your Young Child, published October 2009, expectant fathers can support the expectant mother by accepting the decision, learning what they can about it, and helping with household chores after birth. The article then goes on to say expectant mothers can support their expectant fathers by making sure he still gets the bonding time and encourage bottle filling with breast milk, bathing baby, rocking baby to sleep, or anything that gets him that skin-on-skin contact. In conclusion, breastfeeding still might not be something a mother is able to do or expectant parents want to do, but it is important to support those who can or want to. Expectant parents want the best of everything for the baby. Breastfeeding gives them the best nutritional start. Today I went over the disadvantages of not breastfeeding, the advantages of breastfeeding, the disadvantages of breastfeeding, and how to support those who choose to breastfeed. Overall, breastfeeding can be thought of as preventative medicine, and we should do all that we can to encourage the thought of obtaining a healthier society.